Welcome back. You are watching Newscentre. India's semiconductor market is projected to grow beyond $100 billion by 2030, as per India Semiconductor Market Report by Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association. The IESA has also found that the global semiconductor manufacturing supply chain is expected to scale up to $420 billion by 2030. The association has said that India has the opportunity to leverage existing workforce by upskilling them for semiconductor industry-related requirements. In a report, the IESA has said that India can look at addressing nearly 8 to 10% of the global demand, amounting to $40 billion by 2030. The association also recommended that the government should maintain financial incentives for 10 years. To take this discussion forward, I'm now joined by Ashok Chandak, President at the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association. Thank you very much for being with us on the program today. Let me begin by asking you, the MeitY Secretary at a press conference last week, which was really to discuss the semicon program, he said that the government is discussing with the Finance Ministry the possible contours, the funding for Semicon 2.0. If we were to ask you about your recommendations, what kind of fiscal and policy support does the Indian semiconductor industry need as of now?
Thanks, Parikshit. Thanks for having me here. In fact, I was present last week during that press conference, which happened at MeitY office. And India has already made a great progress, I would call, over a short span of time, thanks to the enabling policies, both central government and various state government policies, actually. But it is very clear that the semiconductor industry is a long haul, it's a long term. And one program or few years of efforts is just the beginning and a starting point, but it is equally important. So there has been expectations from the industry, which is well received by the ministry and particularly MeitY Mr. Krishnan, Secretary, already indicated last week that the program is in consideration. What we expect basically is continuation of this Semicon India program, and maybe in short we call this as a version 2.0 as the next version, which will definitely need additional comprehensive budget. Previous one was $10 billion, equal or more would be welcome surely. And also expectation is this time it could cover the wider range of topics, including the supply chains. Particularly, as you also mentioned just now, it's not only a question of making the semiconductor chips and assembly of them, but there are several supply chain elements, like such as the materials, the chemicals, the gases. Those are equally important, in addition to the state government support on infrastructure, logistics, and other stuff. So in a nutshell, this program needs to continue for additional 5 to 10 years period minimum, so that it becomes more impactful and self-sustainable in future. The financial budget is required, obviously, and inclusion of the additional elements of supply chain. Now, I must highlight here that one of the important element in the entire value chain is the designs. And India is already doing a great work in terms of having almost 20% of the global design pool sitting as into India. And there is also design link incentive scheme, which is already running, by which several startups have been given financial as well as the development tool support by this particular scheme. And almost more than 300 institutes have got access to this tool access, because electronic design automation tool, we call EDA tools, for chip design is very important. And these are very expensive licensing and libraries. So MeitY under ISM have taken those access, and this has been provided to the institutes. And more than 300 institutes get access to it, making this as the world's one of the largest government-supported program. So both, I would say in a summary, design side steps have been taken, manufacturing side steps have been taken. Both these programs are due now for a next revision. And that is what is expected to be done sometime soon. We need to wait for that timeline of announcement.
Okay, would you be able to give any kind of ballpark figure as to what should be the outlay, the financial outlay of Semicon 2.0?
Very difficult to spell out. It depends on the government, on multiple schemes, what they run, not only this particular sector. But our expectation is similar or more would be better, actually, considering now we are getting into a major momentum. And some of these plans, those are announced, are also getting into the execution mode. So that's where we stand right now, actually.
Right. Let me also ask you, how is India getting impacted because of the geopolitical issues around tariffs? What kind of collaborations do we need in the current circumstances, considering that the relationship with the US is going through a bit of strain right now?
Well, I would say right now there seems to be some temporary hiccup there. But considering the fact that our industry, as a semi industry, is a global business topic, that means the multiple countries are involved while any chip is conceptualized and produced. And today, as per statistical data, at least 4 to 5 countries are being touched while these chips are being finally produced. So we need to look at the partnerships which are more balanced now. Not only US, obviously, we need to continue to extend, because well said and done, in a semi industry, half of the global market is US headquartered companies. Plus, there are several other players. Those are also quite active and at a leading stage. That includes Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and European region countries like Netherlands, Germany, as well as the France. So India need to continue this balanced approach to deepen and continue our ties with multiple of these countries, and take forward the agenda. The most important topic would be to create some kind of an interdependence. What I mean is, as I mentioned, it's a global business. So the many countries are dependent on each other now. No country is able to fulfill 100% of their value chain and 100% of the demand on their own. That means we need to establish some of the proof points by executing our currently announced projects, not only Fab, which is the Tata Fab, but also there are another 9 projects. The total 10 projects were announced, and there are 3. Those are approved by the state government. So we are looking at about 13 to 14 projects. Those are now off the block. All these projects have to start execution on time. They need to produce the chips, which are quality chips in terms of the assembly packaging as well as the wafers, establish our trustworthiness, and that is where we would work on. One observation I would like to highlight here is, still there is a good amount of interest, despite of geopolitical topics going on, where every country wants semiconductor into their backyard. We see there is a good traction by multiple countries to engage with India. And I give an example like Semicon India program, which is coming up 2nd, 3rd, 4th September. We have almost 18 countries, companies demonstrating their products and solutions in exhibition. There are 39 countries delegates. Those are participating in the event. So there is an unprecedented still engagement and interest. And we need to continue to work on that and capitalize, as the many countries still understand that it's an interdependent business model worldwide, and they would like to continue working with India, and India would like to continue to work with many countries, so that we build that narrative and we also build that balanced approach, so that it's a give and take. We supply something and we import something.
All right. You know, the government has been saying that the Made in India chips will roll out this year. Could you give us a sense of how many companies in India are ready to start rolling out chips? What is the kind of initial capacity and numbers we could be looking at by the end of the year?
Sure. Good point. Now, there are, as we speak, 10 projects. I just mentioned 10 projects approved by central government under this ISM funding, and few projects approved by state government. All of them are, I think, except this last 4, which were approved 2 weeks ago. Everybody is off the block. They have started their activities, setting up the plants and other stuff. We need to know that particularly for a fab, for example, the Tata Fab, fab project is about typically 4 years of gestation period. It's going to take time. Then the OSATs, that's the assembly test operations, these are typically 12 to 18 months of the gestation period before they could get into the full ramp up capacity. All these projects put together, there is a capacity of about 80 million chips per day. And it's a very huge capacity actually. 80 million chips per day would be produced when everything is fully operational. Now, everything doesn't get operational on a day one, surely. It will take a couple of years before they reach their full optimum capacity. But based on the projects, those are announced in progress, and also what statements have been issued by Honorable Minister, I think at least 3 plants would be in a pilot production this year. Now,
Right.
when they get into the pilot production, what kind of a capacities would be there? It's difficult to spell out right now. I think these companies would spell out as they announce their pilot productions and other stuff. So I would request that we need to wait a little bit to know how much is their production going to be this year. But I can indicate that it's about 80 million per day as a capacity which is getting created. So we can expect, let's say, 2 years from now, when everybody is fully operational, and if they run their optimum capacity, we are looking at 70 to 82 million chips being produced in the country, which is a very sizable quantum.
Right. All right. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.